us once again for another episode of the Transformation Series by Paragon Solstice Incorporated, a coaching and consulting company dedicated to serving individuals, businesses, and organizations around areas of resilience and transformation to help you build a pattern of excellence at its highest peak. My name is Emily Rentas, owner of Paragon Solstice, and I am the host of the series. And today I have the wonderful opportunity to speak to Valerie from Philippines. She's a trainer and coach consultant who's doing some amazing things, and she's going to be sharing her own personal story of transformation and resilience and how she got started. So thank you, Valerie, for joining us today. I'm really excited to just highlight your story. So tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of what is your story of personal transformation and resilience.
Thank you for having me, and thank you everyone for watching today, wherever or whenever you're gonna watch this episode for today. So I actually reached out to Emily because I really resonated with this whole series of transformation. My why. So back in 20, when I read Start With Why by Simon Sinek, I started, writing down that was my why, based on his formula. So I really, I'm excited to be here. The story that I want to tell everyone is what actually happened last year, along with 5 million, at least here in the Philippines, 5 million other Filipinos. I lost my job. I know, it might be something that happened to millions of people worldwide. And I just want to share that even if, the pandemic is something that's really negative and affecting a lot of us, it really also depends on how you look at things that happen to you. So when I lost my job, I mean, of course, it was at the start of the pandemic. I was scared. I mean, I was really anxious. What if my family gets sick? Where am I gonna find the money to help them? Things like that. Am I gonna get a job at this time? I don't think so. But I held on. I'm not gonna tell you to be positive and look on the positive side of things because I grieved. I gave myself time to get mad, get angry, and feel all the feelings, feel all the emotions. It's just right, because it's don't try and censor yourself just because you feel like you have to be positive, you have to get through this. So I gave myself time. I wanted to deactivate my Facebook, but I didn't. Thank God, because even if I was hiding, people, my friends, my network, my family, my former colleagues started asking for my help. And they were like, Val, we need our teams to learn digital. I know that you have an e-commerce site, because I co-founded an e-commerce site in 2018 with 2 other friends. And they were like, can you help us, please? And I'm like, don't talk to me yet. Don't talk to me yet, but I'll get back to you, because I was feeling it. But then I'm like, I have to do something. And I'm seeing all of these people getting sick, all of these people losing jobs. And I told myself, I have to do something. And I did. So I started giving out free trainings in the beginning. All of our makers, because we have partner makers in our e-commerce site who didn't know anything about Facebook. My former teammates, who eventually, after a year, told me that they were actually able to increase their sales by 40% because of what I taught them. And it was in the pandemic, so it was just all giving, which I feel was fitting for that time. And then, because of all these free trainings that I was giving, a friend of mine called and said, I need a trainer, a speaker for my team. Can you help us? Because he knows I also did events, and he like, but this is my only this is my budget, very limited. This is gonna be out of pocket, etc. And then I gave him options, but he's like, I know these people, they're already established, popular, but they don't know digital. They may be the best speaker in the Philippines, but they're not marketing or selling online, and I am. Mm-hmm. And so what I also want to say to everyone is, when you get that opportunity, grab it. And so what I did, I asked him, I said, hi, you know what? You want me to do it for you? Because I think I'm the perfect person for your requirement. So that started the business side of it. Because I asked. And at that time I was ready. I was ready to share whatever it was that I had. I combined it's a programming practitioner. I am able to focus on the things that I can control, which was very important at that time. And I knew I can control what I give. I can control the things that I can share with people. So, that helped. And that started this whole journey of, I was able last year to do almost, even if it's just a year, 200 trainings. Those are the paid ones. Those are 200 trainings in 365 days, which isn't bad.
Yeah. I'm glad that the way that you laid this out in your story, I think it was very, very important what you started with, of when you lost your job, you allowed yourself the space to process and feel, so that you can begin the healing or closure or kind of moving on from that experience, because you didn't run away from the uncomfortability of how terrible that situation was, right? And as a result of you sitting there with the feelings, dealing with the feelings, which is something very hard for us as humans to deal with uncomfortability. I mean, we love to feel comfortable. Feeling comfortable feels great, right? But when you're feeling uncomfortable, you're being pushed and in places and feeling things that that maybe we've been hiding or pushing away for so long, right? And when a thing of like a loss of a job, it really it can bring up a lot of feelings of inadequacy in somebody. And start questioning their self-worth and things like that. What would you say are some of the things that, if that did creep up for you, how did you counteract that? How did you address that? What would those conversations with yourself look like if you had some of that come up?
Yes. Well, I had this, especially in the beginning, like an imposter syndrome. Like, what am I doing here? Well, I have nothing. Like, I have no education background. I don't have any training background. You know what I mean? It's really none of those. But I always go back, and this is something that we also practice and in NLP, is intent. Because my intention really is to help people. And when you go back to that, when you think to yourself that you're there to help, that you are grateful for these people coming to you for help, I think that, that trumps all the other negative feelings about yourself. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, who will say no to somebody who is sincere about helping? And I always go back to that. Even when I'm embarrassed, because sometimes, when I lost that job, it was embarrassing. I was CMO, I was up there, so it's embarrassing to actually say that. And I have to say it becomes part of the story, because I feel that somebody out there might be listening and might find this helpful. Mm-hmm. And again, I go back to service. I do this because I want to serve and I want to inspire people.
Yeah, that's great. And being of service, and that you focused on the gratitude of the opportunity of really putting yourself out there, that kind of now or nothing, right? Now is the time to throw yourself out there and to ask for the things that maybe back then you were more hesitant to kind of not approach. But now when you're in this place of like pressure, and you're like, I'm just gonna go for it, right? I'm just gonna go for it. And that sounds like that's what you've been doing this time, right?
Yes.
What would you say are some of the things that are helping you keep that momentum going? Because I think that sometimes when people start having that momentum, they sometimes start questioning themselves, like they chuck it up to luck, or they chuck it up to it just so happened, right? How can I really maintain this? Is there going to be another opportunity like this? Is it just once in a lifetime? What are some of those things that are helping you keep that momentum?
I read reviews. I read people's going, because that means that even if it's just 1 or 2 or 3 people appreciating what I do, there are people who need my help.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one. And then every month I give free trainings. I continue what I started in the beginning. It depends whether if it's a group of jewelry makers somewhere, or a group of insurance agents here, or whatever. I give, I still give free trainings, because I feel like I'm going, whatever you give, it comes back to you. And it's just faith and belief and trust that it will come back. And it's not just a one hit wonder. I'm not just a one hit wonder. It's not just luck.
Mm-hmm. And one of the unique things that happened we're still in COVID. What's been going on with COVID is that a lot of people have been jumping into the online space and starting online businesses, right? And I know that one of the things that you work with a lot is kind of new online business owners, people who are sales agents, who are going into just sales and marketing and things like that. What are some things that you would recommend for folks who are getting into this, that that in the field is kind of misleading people? What are some things that you are seeing for yourself that people are being misled when it comes to online businesses?
Oh, okay. We often hear about niching, find your niche, which I think is important, yes, but sometimes people don't understand the real reason why and how. Because it was difficult for me when I started this business. They came to me. I didn't have to do sales and marketing. I had a personal brand. Even I think even before all of this, I had a reputation. So I didn't really how do I say? I didn't really have to sell myself. And then this year I realized, oh my gosh, this whole coaching business is huge, and they were all saying niche, 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 niche. And I'm like, why and how? How do I do this? It is important not because it's limited, but because you have to understand them, and they have to create that rapport with you. People like people who are like them. That's rapport. So when you find those people, you don't even have to sell, because they will relate with you and resonate with your values, resonate with your vision, resonate with your character. And that's why you need to find that niche, so that you don't have to be so hardworking with your sales and marketing, because when you find them, you don't even have to sell.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people have been trying to cast this huge net of like, I'm just going to go for everything instead of just focusing on what exactly is your client avatar? Who exactly is it that you serve, right? Yes. And making sure that you're clear on that service, because those are the people who are going to resonate with that message. And I think that's a very important point that you're saying. What would you also recommend for people who are still just trying to find themselves, who are still kind of like, I want to have an online business, I don't know what that looks like, and it's so hard. It's a lot of moving parts. What would you say for those who are just getting started?
Getting started in business, or well, because also some people ask me, how did you find this business of yours? Why training, why coaching, etc. I tell them, you go back. One question I ask them is, what was your first job? Or what did you want to be when you were 7 years old or 6 or 7 years old? Because one way or another, even if it's not the same job, it will be the same values that will resonate with you. So for example, my first job, apparently when I was 12 years old, I was a tutor. That was my first. Yes. I was a tutor to I think 7 or 8 year old boy. So which I totally forgot. And then when I had this opportunity, I'm like, oh my gosh, it was there right from the beginning. And you will be served, the universe will open up for you. So that's one for if you're just still starting, to find yourself. If you're still starting to find start in the online space. Something that I always say is that to, be authentic and build your personal brand. That is so that, again, you don't have to do so much hard selling, because selling sometimes really is icky, especially when you're pushy, especially when you don't know how to do it. So first is build your personal brand. Immediately on Facebook, if you don't have a page, right there on your profile, tell your story. Like for me, for example, I lost that job, even if it's like sometimes I feel uncomfortable saying it, but it resonates with a lot of people and it's part of my story. So say something like that will share your values, so that again, people will be drawn to you. They will feel like authentic, somebody they can touch, they can trust. Because the journey of know, like, and trust in the digital world, it's easier if it's within your network first, at least when you're starting. So at least they know you already. People in your friends list probably like you, not all of them. So what you only need to do is make some of them trust you. If it's not all.
And what you were mentioning are something that's very important, authenticity, right? And I see this a lot in the coaching space, but I don't see the second part to it of how we arrive to authenticity. The vehicle that takes us there is self-development and us understanding who we are. So if we're not working on ourselves, right? If we're not getting our own coaching or going to therapy or kind of really resolving some of the things, that we can't step up to be authentic, right? Because somebody who is struggling with identity and their own issues and things like that, they can't show up to authenticity, right? And I wish that in this space, people would say that along with just being authentic, because the way that you can arrive, like what you're saying, that you say for your story, that you feel uncomfortable, that you say that you lost your job. But the reason you're able to be authentic to say that is because you made peace with that.
Yes.
Right? You did your own during that period of what you said, that you were angry, you were upset, that you worked through that so that you moved past that stage, so that when you do say it, you're not owning that story. You're owning the story in the sense of, yeah, it is a part of my life, but it's not going to define who I am. Right? So the authenticity piece, I think that is really key, what you mentioned about really just showing up for who we are. And the only way that we can do that is when nobody is looking. And I always say that the hardest work is when nobody is looking. Nobody is asking you questions. You're not lying to your coach or your therapist. Like that is the moments when you're really doing the real work, because that's the messy work that nobody sees, right?
Yes. It's all in our heads. Sometimes when we're in the shower, right before we go to bed.
Right
Those
before the creepy feelings of self-doubt, right?
Yes.
So Valerie, thank you so much. This was a wonderful conversation. Thank you for being part of this series. In the description box, you will find information on Valerie and how you can connect with her and her businesses. Thank you so much. And I hope everybody can tune into our next episode. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.